If you've ever wondered if there is a difference between granular fertilizers and liquid fertilizers, there is, and it does go beyond just a preference of having to scratch the fertilizer in the soil and watering it in versus mixing some in a watering can and drenching the soil. Simply put, granular fertilizers are slow release fertilizers and liquid fertilizers are quick release fertilizers. And that's why you can see here with the NPK ratio, which represents the amount of nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium in a fertilizer, is higher on the granular fertilizer than on the liquid fertilizer. Because typically the granular fertilizer won't be applied as often. Most gardeners use it once a month, as is suggested on the packaging here. And often, gardeners will apply some into a planting hole at transplant, and the slow release of the granular fertilizer is perfect for those applications to give your plants what they need without giving them too much at once. And with the liquid fertilizers being quick release, that's why the NPK ratios on them are going to be lower because you want the fertilizer to get to your plants quickly. But if you had a higher ratio being fed to your plants that fast, it could stress out your plants or burn them. And that is why the bottle here says it should be applied every 2 weeks. Of course, there may be some reasons why you might go against these suggestions. For me personally, if we are having bouts of really hot weather, fertilizing my plants on top of dealing with hot temperatures can stress them out, but I also want to make sure they are getting the nutrients they need, especially if I am having to deep water my plants. So, this might be a situation where I use granular fertilizer instead to slowly leach out nutrients over a longer period of time without stressing them out. For my container plants, I also do use the granular fertilizer in the planting holes at transplant, but I will usually stick to the directions of using the liquid fertilizer every 2 weeks because nutrients can get washed away more easily from watering with the limited soil volume that's available, especially since you typically need to water container plants more often. So it seems more imperative to make sure the plants get a quick boost of nutrients that are absorbed faster than risk a lot of it getting flushed out. I might also be more inclined to skip a monthly granular feeding in favor of a liquid fertilizer feeding if my plants are struggling and look like they really need the nutrients quickly. And if you were going to be away from the garden for more than a week, applying granular fertilizer before you leave can ensure your plants will still be fed in your absence. And then, if you don't use drip irrigation and you have someone watering your plants for you, you don't have to worry about adding an extra step for them, or your plants don't have to forego getting a nutrient boost. And if you have plants in ground, your soil likely has an active ecosystem in place that probably provides pretty good nutrients for your plants. So you may find that you don't need quick release liquid fertilizer, and the same can even be said for raised beds where your soil has been built up. I've had my raised beds for over 5 years now, and I do amend the soil and grow cover crops, and I have seen lots of life in the soil. So, for the plants in those beds, the liquid fertilizer may not be necessary in that case, but also wouldn't hurt the plants either. You can also do a soil test to see what nutrients your soil may be deficient in to help you make a decision on what type of fertilizer might work best for you and when to use it. But at the end of the day, even though there are different intended applications for granular and liquid fertilizers, just like with any living thing, fed is best. So as long as your plants are getting nutrients in some shape or form, they should do well for you. But if you want to optimize your fertilizing game, you may find it beneficial to try using both the granular and liquid fertilizers through the growing season and see if you notice a difference or not, or figure out what works best for you, even if that ends up going against the directions on the packaging, because everyone's situation is going to be a little different.